Hello everyone, welcome to KCP community meeting. Today is Thursday, December 4th, 2025. This meeting is being recorded and it will be published on YouTube. This meeting is also being covered under the CNCF Code of Conduct, which boils down to be excellent to each other. We are getting a couple of items on the agenda for today, so let's get started. First of all, I will share the link to the agenda. Please leave yourself as the attendee. Do we have anyone new who would like to say hi? Okay, I will take that as a no. So we can go to the topics part of the meeting. And the first topic is init agent discussion. I believe this is from Simon.
I think it's also from Max, I guess, to an extension. But yeah, so excuse me if I'm coughing. I'm just here for this single topic and then I hop out again. But so Max, maybe to fill you in, maybe we should also put a Max PR here. So, but for everyone to fill them in. Currently, I think Max has identified a really good issue that comes to the initialization of workspaces. And it was posted a bit ago. Then we kind of forgot to answer. And then I kind of worked on a concept, but I had not seen the issue before for an init agent. And then in the meantime, I think, Max, you also posted a PR for yours. And now I think we're in a situation where we have two interesting ideas and we kind of like as a community need to figure out how to continue. Hope that makes sense. Max, maybe you can also say one or two words in case I have misspoken anything.
No, you're absolutely fine. It's essentially it's an extension we want to add to the KCP operator. And then we once we got to this point, then I can like say a few sentences about our use case and what we want to achieve. Or do we discuss this already?
No, I think that would be perfect if you go ahead with your use case and what you've built, and then I think we can talk both about the proposal and we can talk about if the other thing maybe would also cover your use case. Like I think ideally we have one solution. But this is my ideal thinking. Let's put it like this.
Yeah. Do you want to do me to do it now or later?
I think now would be the perfect time. And I think in the meantime, thanks to who did it, we also have the pull request open, which contains the original issue as well.
Okay, cool. Okay, so then so let me describe what we are doing and what our problem is. So we're using like or we want to start using KCP operator to deploy all our KCP stuff, like setting up shards and connecting to etcd. Right now we have used the Helm chart for most cases, but we want to use the operator because it's much more streamlined. And it also supports like sharding better than, or at least it looks easier than it is with the Helm chart. And so what we are struggling with is we struggle a bit with the setup of all the workspaces and the stuff inside the workspaces. So right now what we're doing is we are using provider Kubernetes to connect to individual KCP workspaces and then, for example, create child workspaces inside there and do things like workspace types and organize all that. And this is fine itself, but it's quite complex because when we are using provider Kubernetes, then we have to do all the things ourselves. So we have to like get a kubeconfig from somewhere, then we have to reference this in a way and then tell provider Kubernetes to go to this specific workspace. And what we would like to have is we would like to have a way where we can set up or fully set up our KCP instance, which includes the workspaces and the child workspaces and all the RBAC configuration inside these workspaces through the KCP operator. And we want to do this without the complexity of having to manage all the secrets and the kubeconfigs and the URLs and all that stuff. And so our idea was that we extend the KCP operator with a new controller and a new API, which I named Workspace Object in lack of a better name. But it was kind of inspired by provider Kubernetes, which offers this object API where you can essentially just apply an object to any Kubernetes server. And with the workspace object, we can just reference a KCP instance, and then we can tell the operator, okay, now please apply this manifest to this workspace. And the API is very generic. I initially thought about having like dedicated APIs for RBAC, for workspaces, for workspace types, but that ended up being quite complex, and you have to really go into the KCP APIs, and that's not something that I wanted to do because I just wanted to apply things on the cluster, and I didn't want the operator to care about my configurations and all that. So the operator should just apply the manifests, and so that's why we have this very generic API that just uses the dynamic client and works on unstructured object types. So you can apply any kind of object or manage any kind of object inside the workspace. So so that's the idea behind the PR. And we also have like the second idea, what we might want to do in the future, which we cannot do now, is that we want to configure the global RBACs, like global admin roles inside the system workspaces, instead of having to manage RBAC configurations for every individual workspace we are setting up. I think that describes the PR.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, Christoph, I have a question. Do you have a question or a comment on this proposal? Because I would love to talk. If it's a comment, I would love to talk about the other proposal real quick, just so everyone is aligned.
I would have just a quick question.
Okay, yeah.
Have we thought about the other way around, adding KCP support to Crossplane? If you're already managing everything in Crossplane and you're familiar with Crossplane,
yeah,
just thinking out loud. That was my question.
So yeah, that's true. The idea was that so we thought about the KCP operator to be the best place because the KCP operator already manages the KCP instances, and we want to use KCP operator. Like if it's together with Crossplane or rolled out via GitOps, it's like another story. But we want to use KCP operator, and we want to use really only KCP operator for setting up our whole KCP configuration. And yeah.
No, please continue.
Yeah, and so like integrating, so it doesn't really add value in this way, because the cool thing about the KCP operator is that you have all the API types, like you have this in one package, and you can just go via references and say, please, like here, this is the root shard, and then add these shards to this root shard, and then also apply these objects or create these workspaces for this. And if we would add support or have like a dedicated provider KCP, for example, in Crossplane, then again, we would have to have a way to connect like the provider to the the workspace or to KCP. And then again, we have this problem that we have to manage secrets and kubeconfigs and all that together. And we just, it's not the apply itself that's the problem. It's more like the managing of the secrets and kubeconfigs in between. And we don't want to care about or manage the connections, basically.
Sure, I get that. I could also see that the KCP plugin and Crossplane would be smart enough to get the kubeconfigs it needs. You only give it one for the root chart. But apart from all that, I can totally see that I personally also would not like to run Crossplane just to provision something in KCP. So using Crossplane would not really be my preferred solution, but I was just thinking out loud, maybe it's a solution as well, in addition to building something more specific for KCP, something more lightweight. MJ, you had your hands up. At least one.
No, it's just a Crossplane comment. It's harder than it looks. Simple as that. Like that.
Oh yeah, I believe you very much.
No, so I'm gonna, Simon, your floor. I have comments, but let's leave it.
Yeah, I think we'll go into this in a bit, but I think from a timeline perspective, it does make sense. Marco, if you could open up the other proposal for a minute and to provide some context. So, Max, I unfortunately was not aware of this issue, but I wrote the proposal, so it kind of originated independently. However, I think the use case was really simple. So we received this basically through another channel where someone said, hey, initialization is a real big topic for us. And it's something where we should provide a better way in KCP, which I think aligns also with your general objective. As part of this, I've written, I think 2 weeks ago, I've written this proposal. And I don't think we need to go through everything, but I want to highlight a couple of things that I think are important and that we've also touched upon yet. So essentially, the main difference is this offloads the initialization into its own controller. So it would be a separate component. One of the major reasons we did this is we would love to have this to be compatible with all types of KCP setups, not just with setups that get created via KCP operator. The other part that we talked about was the fact that we talk on permissions. And so what this controller does is it uses a feature in KCP called initializers. And initializers basically allow you on a workspace type to define an initializer. And then for that initializer, a virtual workspace kubeconfig can be created, which allows you to see all workspaces that are created of that workspace type. And essentially, this is how this controller gets access to all of them. It basically just gets fed in the kubeconfig for the workspace type. And then whenever someone creates a workspace of this type, it automatically has access to it. And even better, it has access to it for only a limited time as well. So the way it works is essentially it runs its reconcile loop, and at the end of its reconcile loop, it removes itself via an initializer from the object, thus losing access to the object as well. Yeah, that's all I want to mention so far. One thing we would have to rework for this concept is what's currently shown as the last bullet point that can be seen. So it says allowing for workspace hierarchy creation is a plus, but not a must. Like this, we would have to change because my understanding, Max, is also that this is something you would really like. You want to have hierarchical workspaces to be set up via initialization. The good news is we think this is doable with not too much effort. Basically, what we need to just build in is like a loop detection, so you don't create a workspace type that has a workspace of that same workspace type as its resource, and then it would create an endless loop. So yeah, these would be my my 50 cents on it. Generally speaking, regardless, before we go into evaluating both of these, Max, I would kindly ask you, do you think that also, just from a conceptual perspective, this would solve your use case?
I'm like, I have a few questions, I think, about this concept. So the idea is that basically I initialize a workspace of a specific type, and then there is this agent, and the agent pre-fills basically the workspace with, I don't know, my other configurations and whatever stuff.
Yeah, exactly. You can, if we
Yeah.
scroll down a bit, we don't need to go into all the details, but basically, yes, you can specify the objects that should be copied over into the new workspace.
And how do I specify this init agent? So is it like how would I configure it on a running instance? Like it's nothing that I need to configure on startup or something. It's like something that I can, I don't know, describe dynamically.
Yes. So if we scroll down a bit, we can see there is what's called an init target, I believe. Yeah, exactly. And this is just a list of sources. And that would work as long as you don't change the workspace type. Because obviously, if you change the workspace type, you would need to recreate a kubeconfig for this. But the amount of sources is completely flexible. And sources in this case means resources, essentially, that should be.
And how would it work if like if I wanted to create a workspace? So this helps me filling a workspace with configurations, but can it also be used to create a workspace itself? Because like in our case, we are also using provider Kubernetes to create workspaces,
Yeah.
and so like with this we can fill the data inside the workspace, but we would still need provider Kubernetes and manage all the secrets, kubeconfigs, and all that stuff to create the workspace itself, like consumer workspaces or things.
Okay, I think this is where it becomes interesting. So let's split this. So how would you create a workspace inside a workspace? Is you could have another init template whose content is a workspace. So that would work. And with regards to access, the way it works is because it's tied to workspace types, the init agent gets access to the workspace for the duration of the initialization.
Okay, yeah, I guess I understand.
Yeah, but for now we have a lot of hands open. Christoph, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was wondering about the conceptual difference between something that continuously reconciles, where you can add resources later, or something where we use the init agent, like here, where we lose access after an initial setup, and then that's it. Right. So if someone deletes something from a workspace that was provisioned from the outside, this concept with the init agent would have no access, and therefore no option to restore it.
Yes.
So there's a big difference, I think. Well, Max, did you need reconciliations, or was it also a one-shot deal and then you're done? That's what you're doing.
I'm not 100% sure. I think at least for the data inside the workspaces, we need reconciliation, yes.
Okay. So either we would need to configure that the init agent doesn't give up its initializer, but then the workspace never becomes ready. So that's just not really workable to bring those two together.
Yeah, this concept, you're completely right. So this concept specifically hinges off the idea that there is a process of initialization, and once that's done, the agent is done.
After me, then.
So I think this is basically, if it's a requirement to have it constantly reconciled, I don't think that's a right place to be in a KCP operator because of scaling factor. Reasons being, KCP operator, we're trying to build it towards where it can manage like 10, 20 shards. And those shards might be globally located in a different region, different data centers, different kube clusters, or basically bare metal as much as it cares. This means having that much of management in that component. Let's say you have 10,000 workspaces, and if you're bootstrapping this from the lower layer KCP operator, this means your lower hosting cluster has to have 10,000 plus objects and maintenance. It basically limits the factor for scaling. And one of the proposals was that we do it out of tree for KCP as a KCP operator. It would be a component which piggybacks on KCP itself. So like you have a dedicated workspace control plane in a way from where you can bootstrap things across the KCP installation. So I think it's not written, maybe it's not, maybe it's in the Simon's document, but the idea was we have it out of tree component. It's deployed as a Helm dependency with KCP operator if you're running in a one cluster, but that's optional. You could provision a kubeconfig using KCP operator machinery, but it's loosely coupled. But the bootstrapping and work and everything is done from within KCP itself, like using all the API exports, bindings, initializers. Because I think this is the biggest one, like long-term reconciliation is immediately bottleneck for the stuff. Plus, as Christoph originally mentioned in the issue, if we put it to KCP operator, everybody who's using Helm chart, and we have quite a lot of people doing that, can't use it basically.
So this would end up like the virtual workspace, where you basically have one pod per shard.
Yeah.
Add something to it.
So you have like root bootstrap or root init agent bootstrap workspace. So as a user, you connect to this as an admin, not a user. You connect to this specific dedicated control plane and you bootstrap everything from there. Just idea, but I think the biggest question in my head is how not to break scalability by putting too much constraints on a hosting cluster where the operator runs in a way.
The operator could be used to spread this information, right? If you have 500 shards and you want to make sure all of them are provisioned identically, you use the KCP operator to set it up once in the root shard, and from there the third-party component takes it, or the operator spreads it on all shards already, but the actual reconciliation logic is then in these pods per shard.
Close to the shard, basically.
Whether that's Go or something else.
Right, right. Because that's the KCP operator was never intended to be built at the same scale as KCP itself. And this leaks a bit up in a way if we start bootstrapping from the lower layer.
So I think even if we don't put it in the operator, we can still make it as convenient as if it was complete in the operator.
I think that's a must, to be honest. It's like you should be able to use the same references. CRDs should be similar. Installations should, like, we can bundle it part of the KCP operator installation just as a Helm subchart dependency, but you have to explicitly enable it, like, hey, deploy this additional component with KCP operator.
I think that would be workable as a design. Other feelings?
Max, any points? Like, sorry, I don't want to be that guy who like goes and tries to put down the ideas, but I feel we have a mixed two ideas coming from two sides.
Yeah, I fully see the scaling issue. I mean, it's something that you have in Crossplane all the time once your platform gets big enough.
Yeah.
But I was also thinking right now about like a separate operator, like a KCP workspace operator or something, where you can really have like types that are dedicated not to manage a KCP instance, but like manage the data inside a KCP instance. Like you can create workspaces or like apply objects like you would do with this PR. But I'm just thinking how one could manage this without having to think much about like having to manage kubeconfigs and all that, because that is the part where it gets complicated and it also gets intransparent, because right now we're using provider Kubernetes, and like you have thousands of Kubernetes objects that are managed by the provider.
Yeah.
And it's not easy, or it's not possible to see at first glance if you just run kubectl get objects to see which object belongs to which workspace, and that makes it a bit hard to manage all the objects for specific workspaces. And maybe there is a way, I don't know, maybe even to do it like in a KCP native way without the operator. But it would be like, it would be really cool if there is a way that we have just like, we just deploy KCP and like deploy KCP via the operator, and we just have to manage a few YAML manifests and can just apply this without having to write cross-plane compositions or have any other kind of composition layer that needs to be there to screw all the things together, but just apply manifests, just Kubernetes native way, basically.
I don't see a big issue in making that possible. Whether we call that a provisioning operator or a controller, or if that's an add-on to KCP, if we call it that, if the operator deploys it via Helm or not, this can all be worked out, I think.
And like there is multiple ways. One is you could run it per shard with a global admin, which sees every workspace on that particular shard. Or we could have almost wildcard API binding, because as mentioned in the beginning, initialization and termination is easy using that dedicated workspace. But if we want a constant life cycle of components, this means we need a constant access. And that's either via API binding, means every workspace has to bind to some kind of provisioning service, or we have a global per shard access where we just poke every workspace directly. One is more privileged, another one is less privileged.
I would have given the thing just shard admin for now. Then it can configure truly anything on the shard, even in potentially system namespaces.
Yeah, but that it's a scaling one, scaling factor. If you have a one which has a global admin, like you need to run it one per shard, or if the shards are globally distributed, like it's always one per shard, almost system master talking directly. Where if you have it API binding way, you could run it one component per 10 shards, because the API binding and export relationship will manage the networking.
Sure, but
yeah, it's
any KCP setup that grows at some point will probably give up on the virtual workspace and run one per shard. And the overhead shouldn't be that hefty, even for like a 1 or 2 shard setup, to just have it running there.
But I think the bottom line is like, if we need a constant reconciliation, it's a different problem. if we okay with a bootstrapping and termination, that's a different problem.
Yeah.
And what we're saying, we need constant reconciliation, right? Content management.
Yep. This is also how I read it. So yeah, I was hoping maybe we can combine the two and find one sleek, one fits all solution. But I agree, and I think also Marco has written it. Or MJ, I forgot who was it, but it's also written very well reflected in the docs that these two are two separate things. Yeah. With this, I think you guys could hear already, I'm not feeling particularly great. I have contributed everything I could contribute to today. So I would jump out and I talk to you guys soon. Thanks for it. And yeah, it's good that we've discussed it out. Like, this was really important for me, because also what I wanted to say is, Max, we really appreciate you coming in from an outside to make a contribution. And I really wanted to value this and see that it goes into the right direction. Thanks, guys. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you. See you soon.
What a trooper, this Simon. What a trooper.
On the sick leave, joining calls.
Oh, but this is recorded. No.
Do we have any questions about this topic? I will take that as a no. MJ, your topic is the next one.
So maybe before we move, so Max, I think we're gonna be working on this too. So maybe let's take it offline. I think we're gonna come back in the next week with what's the plan. Gonna keep it open and we'll see how we can join the solutions. As Simon mentioned, how to incorporate everything what you did basically into the what's going to be produced.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you so much. Yeah, let's stay in contact.
And next one is basically, it's an outcome from this, because we missed the issue. And I'm thinking what we need now, we have so many Git repos with like sync agent, KCP operator, KCP. I feel we need to restart the issue triage process and assigning and some kind of planning. And the process which was done before, I don't think it works anymore. Because it would be good to have some kind of agreement saying, hey, if somebody raises an issue, how fast we responded. So we don't end up with situations where basically we miss something or something is implemented before initial agreement is done, like the usual things. So this small open question, like how do we want to do this? Dedicate some time in community meetings each and every 2 weeks, asynchronously, like open the suggestions.
Is there some fancy CNCF tooling for this? Ola.
Yeah, so I think based on what MJ said, so there's something KubeVet does. So they have something called a VEP. So before you actually start the implementation, so you create like a I've forgotten what the acronym means. Sorry, but it's an implementation plan or detail of a kind of high-level implementation plan of what you intend to do, right? And so based on that, conversation can be kickstarted from there, right? And then once there's an agreement, then you can then proceed with that. Yeah, I think that can help. Yeah.
I mean, it is a tool to like help triage issues, or is you like proposing mini like architecture documents? And
Yeah, I mean, I think it works for both triaging and architecture, right? So basically, KubeVet has a separate repository called a VEP or enhancement repository. So inside of the repository, you have like a list of VEPs. So let me get to the minute.
I found a KubeVet, but I don't think it's that KubeVet.
yeah, that's
Yeah, so it's same as Kubernetes. I think it's KEP or something like that. So basically, it's in the enhancement repository. If you intend to raise an issue, or if you raise an issue and you want to work on it. So instead of working on it directly, and you create a VP for it, and where you document what you intend to do, right? And then on calls like this, you discuss them, and once there's an agreement, you can proceed with the implementation.
I think to some degree we have that process already. MJ was more targeting like random tickets that come in and then go completely unseen. Marco.
Yes, I would say I agree with Christoph there that we have something like that. That sounds very similar to the Kubernetes CAP process. I think that we still need triage even if we would do something like that, because the problem is that in different repos you have a lot of different issues. Actually, you have bug reports, you have regressions, you have test issues, stuff like that. Not everything is supposed to be managed by enhancements or anything or something like that. So we still need to do triage across all the repos that we have, basically.
So should we just do this each and every community call? We just go through our repos. We have a labels like accepted roadmap. We have a milestone. So we kind of make it agreement. Nobody works on the issue if it wasn't accepted, if we didn't agree that we needed. Else, like it helps with hygiene, I think, in general.
I would say that I am not the biggest fan of having it in the community meetings. We have done that in Kubernetes before. It never worked out too well. That's mostly because, for example, let's take this meeting as an example. We are already 40 minutes in, and we have more topics, like we wouldn't have any time to do triage. And if you have like 2 or 3 meetings like that, you didn't do triage for like 2 months or so. And when you have short meetings, people usually want to be done with them as quick as possible and then do stuff async. So I would say we try to do some async way, but I don't know how, like that we have some sort of a schedule, so 1 or 2 of us takes a look at the issues and do some getting back assignments, and we do that more often, like at least once a week. And I think that would work better.
We don't have GitHub integration in Kubernetes, like, right? We can't just subscribe to our repository and have a Slack channel where we just get updates for tickets. Another thing, right?
Maybe let's try do rotating chair. It's like we have a maintainers list and we just dedicate this to all us answer in the chat. Not every feature will need enhancement. It's like finger in the ear rule. If the feature implementation takes shorter than writing an enhancement, and we can agree on this, like you don't need to write everything. It's for the big ones where we like breaking a stool and a chair. So I would say let's try to do rotating chair, but do agreement asynchronously. I can kick off this one in a Slack, potentially taking a first week or 2. I'm gonna see what labels we have and basically take it from there. And we can revisit next community meeting if it works, doesn't work, and basically. So I'm gonna pick this one up. I think that's mostly it for this one. Just that we need to agree on that. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Ola, can you please just mute because there is some background noise coming from you?
Oh, sorry.
Thank you so much. Then MJ, you can go on with the next topic.
So next one is just a quick one. We've been fighting vendoring for a few days. I think quite a few of us. I think Neil including, which he's not on the call. So I started rolling the 134.2 rebase today. I have a POC PR already open. It's just more for information. It's like I did one very long time ago. I need to refresh my personally to be more informed. So if anybody wants to, I already posted in a chat. I don't think this will be very much interesting rebase after monorepo migration, but it's more for information with it. I think it's coming in the next week or two. And if we will want to cut a release after that, I don't know, but it would be good to let it sit for some time.
135 release candidate was just out.
We're a bit behind, so this is why I
Yeah,
want to
but
get it in.
should we skip 134?
It's too much. There is already few things I found today. I wouldn't want to skip it. I would better expedite and like get it stable, set it for a few weeks and merge it, like cut a release and do a one more on top. With monorepo now, it's way easier to do the rebase. That's like 100%.
Let's talk when you're done with it.
So the only thing which falls back now is a protobuf support. Upstream basically doubled down on it even more, and we need to do some carry on for that. But that's it.
Nice. Looking forward to it.
Sounds like a plan. Thank you.
So right now, the state of the world is that you basically can't get everything on KCP 029 and Cube 134.
Now that's
So right now,
and that's the one of the biggest thing where I want to get it in out, because the Cube Open API and Google Gnostic and few other libraries, we did quite a big breaking changes from 33 to 24. And it's just a nightmare to vendor them in. And if you use multi-cluster runtime with KCP core dependencies, it just basically doesn't talk nicely. And in the future, we need to be very much closer to MCR versioning in our rebase too, to make it smoother.
no. Or we need to slow them down. To our level.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Looking forward to that. See that working in the new monorepo.
Keep your fingers crossed. Okay, the next topic is from Sebastian about KCPCon.
Yep. So just an idea, as I wrote to some of you already, like I figured out that even a sandbox project, you can do virtual events. I mean, it definitely needs some planning and so on, and I think it needs at least 6 months before you can do this. But just wanted to discuss with you, like, what do you think? Should we try do a KCP con potentially summer next year? Because then I can start reaching out to the CNCF and see, okay, what do we need to do and so on.
What's the length of virtual event? Like, is that couple hours? Or-
Yeah, I think a couple of hours.
So we need to fill like, and it's a one track, or
At minimum, I would say.
so it feels like extended webinar with bigger agenda in a way, right? Something like that.
Exactly. That how I would see it. It's like extended webinar or potentially multiple webinars after each other to the topic of KCP. The good thing is, I think we would get some support from CNCF on marketing, so they would put it on the newsletters and so on. And we would get some visibility. I mean, we potentially can like even start with a KCP one-on-one beginner talk. Potentially we get 1 or 2 client or user use cases. Let's say we're targeting, I don't know, 3-4 hours. I think we should be capable of filling this up. Or
Originally when I read it, it sounded a bit scary, but now when I think about it, I think it's doable. Like, plus if it's 6 months timeline, we have more than enough time to prepare the content.
yeah, exactly. And I'm not sure if you even need to run a CFP or something like this, how the process is. So if you hear not saying, okay, don't do it at all, I would say let me reach out to CNCF and see, okay, what we need to do. If they have some more information, I mean, declining we can still, or if we say no, we don't want to.
I think maybe let's try. Like, while you reach out to CNCF, we can try internally to build a napkin agenda to see what we could do that. Like, let's assume we do it and basically think of what content we could add. So maybe people could pitch in, like, what, and I'm looking to Ola now, he's a latest addition to our community. It's like, what would you like to see in the event like this? So maybe we just kick off a asynchronous thread in a Slack and ask people.
MJ, were you referring the question to me?
I will tag you in a Slack asynchronously.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe let's collect ideas and see. Sebastian, do you want to kick this one, or can I just kick off the thread and keep it alive and you do the CNCF?
Yeah, as you wish. Let's split this. You can kick off the. Let me reach out to the CNCF. You can start kick off the
Yeah. Okay.
thread, and then we can see.
Cool. Yeah. So maybe let's revisit in, like, maybe not next one, but in a month's community meeting and see where we are.
Yeah, let's potentially see beginning of January where we are.
Cool.
Everyone fine with KCPCon or any different name? Because I think this I need to put in directly. I mean, I guess we can change this afterwards.
KCPCon is fine.
Okay, then let's KCP. Let's use KCPCon so far, and let's see what potentially even CNCF or Linux Foundation don't like it, and we need to take another name.
Oh yeah, thank you. I'm hosting the meeting. Sorry. Yeah. So I think that would be it. Are there any questions for Sebastian? Okay. Do we have any other business, any other topics, anything else to discuss? I will take it as a no.
Do we need to discuss
Okay.
anything regarding KubeCon or not sure?
Oh yeah. I wasn't sure because there's not a lot of us here, but basically, KubeCon has some deadlines coming up for the project opportunities. There are a couple of them. Basically, what might be interesting to us, Maintainer Summit is unfortunately not at this time, but there are project lighting talks that should be available to all talks. Like this is a 5-minute talk to show what's new in the project. And another thing that we have is the Contrib Fest, which is a 75-minute session where you can do the tech stuff, some contributing things like that. And it is also available to sandbox projects. And we have the Project Pavilion kiosk as well, which we should consider. But I think the deadline for that is also mid-December. I think those are all good opportunities to spread the word about KCP and to, try to attract more users and especially contributors. And maybe we should give it a try. The deadline for most of those is like maybe end of next week. So if we have anyone who would be interested and if you think this would be beneficial for the project, we should think about this.
I think Pavilion is must. Like we can fill that always. So I will for sure go for this one. Other ones depends if people can find time. I personally filled with all the other stuff now already, so Pavilion I think is one we can squeeze in.
Yeah, that one I would agree with. And for
Plus,
the other
you can
two,
get signs like this from there.
yeah.
You took it with you?
Pavilion closed, sign left.
Okay, then we will handle that. I will follow up async to make sure we register for Project Pavilion. And I would say for other two, maybe let's first see the KubeCon CFP notifications. Then we will know like who has capacity to do something else.
Do we know when those are coming through?
On Monday.
This Monday.
Yes.
Yeah, so
But like if there's anyone who would be interested in maybe watching recording, anything like that, you can always reach out to us on KCP Dev channel on Slack and we can figure something out.
no, it's I think lightning talks might be a good one. I don't know if we give tickets now to these ones too, if you get the lightning talk.
No, they don't.
Okay, so yeah, maybe let's revisit Monday, see who has a capacity and we can submit that.
Okay. Sounds like a plan. Okay. Any final questions or topics? I will take that as a no. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining today. It was nice to have these discussions here. And yeah, we will meet in 2 weeks. I think this is fine. And then we will probably cancel in the New Year week. So yeah. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Yep. Cheerio.
Bye bye.
Enjoy your evening.